Hey, what's up guys? Eric Thane here from Cinema Mastery, and today we're going to be talking about how to create cinematic videos that will attract high-paying clients into your business. Let's do it. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about how you create cinematic-looking videos and how to build your business off of the cinematic look. Now, obviously, it's a word that people use to death. And you hear it all over the place, cinematic this, cinematic that, cinematic B-roll, cinematic movies, whatever. You hear this all over the place, right? And I want to talk about what this really means and why I'm talking about creating work that looks cinematic. Because, over the last 5 years, I've been building a community of filmmakers, with you guys. We have, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of filmmakers that are following our stuff now, which is crazy. We've developed Cinema Mastery, our online courses and programs, all based off of this concept of creating cinematic work, truly cinematic work. And a lot of times when I talk about this, I think people get the idea that it's the same thing that what everyone else is talking about. And I don't know, I see it differently. So when I say cinematic, what I mean is not just something that looks good, okay? Which is, I feel like how a lot of people use the word that if it looks good, it's cinematic, right? But to me, cinematic means movie-like. And in fact, if you look at the definition of cinematic, it means having characteristics or qualities of the movies. It means movie-like. It means cinema. It means it looks like movies. And movies definitely have this look to them that is very different from your standard videography. And so everything that I've built over the last 5 years and my online courses and programs and this YouTube channel and everything is designed to teach people how to do what I call cinema hacking. Now, cinema hacking means taking the look of movies and high-end commercials and adopting those and then recreating that look using cheaper gear and smaller sets and less crew and everything. Because as filmmakers, as videographers, we don't all have, massive studios or huge budgets to get the best gear, the best lights or anything like that. And so if you can learn how to create that look with a lower budget, that's really where you're going to become successful as a filmmaker. So I started to figure this out quite a few years ago. I mean, I became a professional videographer when I was about 23 years old, I want to say. This was back in 2013. Was when I got my first paying client. And I remember just really struggling as a filmmaker. I would do jobs here and there. They were always different things. So it was a Kickstarter video or a real estate video or a wedding or, lots of different things. And it was just kind of all over the place. And my work was decent. I knew how to use a camera, but it was just that. It was just okay, right? And you could tell that other people felt the same way about it because when I would get clients, they never wanted to pay me really high rates. And if I would try to charge high rates, they usually negotiate them down. And then when people got the work back from me, they usually liked it. My clients were happy with the work that they got. But it wasn't they were excited or telling all their friends about me or anything crazy, So it was just kind of everything was just great, I'd post work on social media. My mom would comment. She'd be like, "You're so great." And my friends would comment, say, "This is amazing." But you just know that it's it just is what it is, right? So it was around that time that I was really trying to figure things out, trying to figure out how to grow my business. And I remember seeing work from a few DPs in my local area, DPs and directors, that was just amazing. And it had this look to it that was so professional, so movie-like, so high-end, and so luxurious. And I remember looking at their work and going, man, why can't I create work like that? And why doesn't my work have that look? And maybe that's the issue. And around that time, I reconnected with an old friend of mine who had actually been a producer on some of those commercials that I'd been looking at and understood that look and what they were doing in order to get that look. And what he told me, I asked him, I said, why are these guys getting all these big clients and doing these amazing jobs? And then there's people like me that are struggling. And he says, well, let me tell you something. He says, all that work that you're seeing in their portfolio, all those videos for big brands and everything, they didn't actually get hired by those brands. They did them as passion projects. He says, well, see, what most videographers do is that they go out and they create a portfolio and they throw all of their best work that they've done, and they just kind of throw it together, and it's just like a collection of all their past work for their clients. He says what professional filmmakers do is they actually go out and they create work in order to craft a portfolio that is the type of work that they want to attract. So rather than the portfolio being like, looking into the past, like your past work, it's kind of looking into the future. You're creating work for the purpose of showcasing to clients what it is that you're good at and what you can do. And so I started to realize that there was a difference between these filmmakers and me, and the fact that like they were starting to get big paying jobs was because they created this look that was so different from like your standard videography. And that was when I realized like the difference between videography and cinematography. To me, is that videographers capture the world as it is, whereas cinematographers create a world. It's this creation of a world, is creating something that you've never seen before, and creating this mood and this image and controlling all the elements of it is what makes it so powerful and so interesting and so engaging. And so I got really interested in this idea, and I decided that, from here on out, I'm going to go all in on creating cinematic looking images. So I started studying the movies. I started studying high-end commercials, which are also inspired by movies. And I started looking at what they're doing and what is making the difference. I started understanding lighting and composition and camera settings and all the things that they were doing in order to make work that looked cinematic and beautiful, and not just like capturing what's already there, but actually crafting a story with my work. And I went through a few different projects where I created some music videos and some other projects, and did them like totally different than what I'd done before. See, normally when I was shooting like a music video, for example, I would just take the singer or the performer and I would put them in a cool location and then get like 5 or 6 different angles of them performing the song and then cut it together, and then there you go. Then I had a music video, right? And so instead, what I would do is I would start thinking about, okay, what kind of story can I tell here? How can I shoot extra B-roll, if you will, or extra footage to go along with that story and tell that story and really make it the lighting cinematic and interesting? And I started going through this process of creating these storytelling pieces, even if I was just shooting a commercial or a music video, making sure that I had a cinematic look every single time. When I did this, I noticed things started changing. It was like when I would take my work and I would post it on Facebook, for example. I'd get the usual comments that were like, hey, this is awesome, this is really great. But I started getting comments and messages from people that were a little bit different. It wasn't like, hey, good job, like, you're awesome. It was more like, Eric, wow, this is actually incredible. Where people are using kind of the same words, but you can tell by the feel of it that there's something different going on. And I started to notice that. I started to realize that people were actually like writing these comments that were really good, and they're starting to notice my work and starting to like post it in other places and then like message it to people and share it, and like all these things started happening that was not what I was used to when I would share my work before. And so I realized that like, okay, I'm onto something here. I'm starting to figure this out. And it was right around that time when I got my first big break, if you will. I got my first big client that came to me and said, hey, we want you to work with us. And this client was the Stein Erikson Lodge in Park City, Utah. They're a major luxury hotel property in Park City. Really beautiful, amazing property. And we had shot a music video there, and they saw my work and saw what I had been doing. And they said, hey, we'd like to talk to you about working together. And I was so excited. And so like I went to lunch with them, sat down, had a meeting with them. They started telling me about all this video that they wanted me to do, and how they wanted it to be like storytelling based and like really cinematic and everything. And I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly the project that I've been looking for, because it's the type of work that I want to do. And when it came to asking them for a budget, they said, well, that's the problem, is we don't really have a budget. Which was typical, right? Like I was used to that, it's just like, okay, well, that's to be expected. That's normal, right? And what they told me is, they said, look, we don't really have a big budget for this, but they did have some budget, and they said, hey, we can give you $3,000, which for some people might sound like a lot of money, but for what I wanted to do on this project, I knew that like it was gonna take way more than that in order to get it done. And so they said $3,000. They said, we can give you that. If it doesn't work for you, we understand, but if it does, like, we want to do this. And so I had a decision to make. I had to choose, like, do I take that $3,000? Well, first of all, do I just say no to the project? Or do I take that $3,000 and pocket it and go do like a typical standard video like all the other videos that I've been doing up until that point? Or do I take that $3,000 and do I reinvest it into the project and try to make it the most amazing thing that I could? And ultimately, that's what I decided to do. I looked at this as an opportunity. This is an opportunity for me to be like those other filmmakers and create a passion project that can really showcase for people what I'm capable of doing and what, like, the type of work that I want to do. So I decided to just take on the project and do it, and I went all in on this project. I took the $3,000 that they had, I dumped it into hiring a producer and some people to help me out and to get a Red camera. It was my first time shooting on a Red. I got the gear and the lights and everything that I needed in order to make this project amazing. And when I finished it, the client was just blown away at the quality. Like, they loved it. And then I put it on social media and it just blew up, and like the reaction that I got to it was insane. It was so different than anything that I ever done before. And so I was looking at that and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, people are loving this project and like really getting into it. There's clearly something, going on here. And so I started taking that project and I took it back to this client. I took it to like marketing agencies and started pitching it to them and showing them the video and saying like, look what I can do. And like, anytime somebody would be interested in working with me, I would take this video and I would send it to them and say, hey, look, here's an example of our work, and would always get this positive reaction. And not only did I start getting lots of clients like from other places as well, but that one hotel came back to me and over the next few years ended up hiring me for like 5 or 6 more videos at full price. And I think that we made like between $70,000 and $80,000 just from that client alone. So I was able to not only get paid by this client and then also get like other clients coming in the door, but this one video and this idea of creating cinematic work was actually the catalyst that launched me into actually being able to grow my production company and do the things that I wanted to do as a filmmaker. It was what turned into my production company growing to 6 figures a year and being able to run at that level. And then also what turned into me eventually becoming a YouTuber or a course creator and creating Cinema Mastery and these programs that have now helped like so many other filmmakers as well. So if you're a filmmaker and you want to grow and scale and like grow your business and get more clients and create higher quality work, the key to doing that is focusing on creating cinematic work. And again, when I say cinematic, I'm talking about like what the movies are doing. And it doesn't require expensive gear. It doesn't require like big crews and big sets. Like, those are good things to have. And like, if you're operating at the same level as Hollywood or like really high-end commercials, then yes, there are situations where that's necessary and definitely like, helps things out. But it's not necessary when you're starting out. And if you're just starting out as a filmmaker, the most important thing is to be focusing on learning the principles of cinematography, learning the theory, learning like what makes something look cinematic and what makes it not look cinematic. If you're spending all your time and all your money and everything on like buying new gear and lights and stuff, you're actually doing yourself a disservice, because getting those really expensive pieces of gear and cameras and everything are actually going to shoot you in the foot down the road. It's better to learn the principles on cheaper camera gear like I did, and then as you grow and as you start to figure it out, use that money that you have from clients to rent more expensive gear and like get to know the nicer cameras and the nicer lights. And then eventually, when you're at the point where your production company is running and you've got the work that you need to support it, then you can buy the stuff that you're using the most often. But for right now, the most important thing is to learn the principles and the theory. What is it that makes something look cinematic, and what is it that makes something not look cinematic? Because it's actually that simple. Do this and it will be cinematic. Do this and it will not be cinematic. And if you learn those rules and you start to follow those rules, you'll start to realize that your work gets more attention, starts to look more cinematic, and then ultimately you'll start to get higher and higher paying clients by doing that. So if you're a filmmaker and you want to learn the real principles and theory of filmmaking, the principles, the camera settings, the composition, the editing, the lighting, everything that you need to know about cinematography in order to make cinematic looking images and build a portfolio that's going to attract really high paying clients into your business, I want to invite you to check out Cinema Mastery, because we're actually doing a huge sale on the Cinema Mastery program this week only. Cinema Mastery is a program that over 1,000 filmmakers have gone through. We've had tens of thousands of filmmakers go through pieces of the program, but the entire program has over 1,000 people in our community. We've helped tons of filmmakers to go from literally like not knowing anything about cinematography, just barely starting out as videographers, to creating truly highly cinematic looking work that is landing them $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, and even up to $50,000 clients, like just right out the gate. So if that's what you want to do, if you want to become a filmmaker and really go from being a videographer to becoming a cinematographer and creating high quality, high level work that gets you high paying clients, I want to invite you to check out Cinema Mastery. It's down in the description below. If you're ready to get started right away, like I said, the program is on sale right now at the lowest price that we've ever offered. So you can jump right into the program right now. Or if not, if you click on the link down below, there is a link to watch a free training if you want to get to know the program a little bit more and learn a little bit more about what I'm talking about right now and exactly how to do it. So the option's up to you. Hit the link down in the description below. I'm excited to see you in the program and to help you to become a true cinematographer. If you have any questions about this video, feel free to post them down in the comments. I'll take a look at those, and we will see you next week on the next video.